The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 410, Mr. Somich.
Santa Anita, huzzah!
Hey, baby, we're back. It's exciting. Santa Anita is back, and not only that, downhill turf course racing is back. 2 of the 5 races we're covering, Mike, we're going down the hill. This is an exciting sequence here.
Don't say I never did anything for you, Magic. Here we are. Life is good. Running over to Aqueduct, and here we are in California going down the hill, baby.
It's going to be exciting. Thanks so much for joining Mike and I. Sorry if I sound a little off. If you missed the message that Mike and I missed the Monday show because Mike was evacuating Florida, and I unfortunately brought back COVID from my Michigan trip. So coming out of it, feeling okay, but I'm a little froggy. I'm hearing it just now as I speak. But listen, I'll fight through anything, COVID or anything, Mike, to talk about Santa Anita. This is a pick 5 that you could have a couple of favorites win. This could still pay really well.
Yeah, I think this is actually a pretty tough sequence, a really good sequence from Santa Anita. You got 10 horses in a couple of these races, interesting stakes races. I don't see any heavy favorites. I think the favorite in the first race is awful. Can't wait to talk about that one for sure. It's a fun little sequence, a tough one to get really cheap on. These are tickets that we're putting out are more expensive than we generally have. But I think this is a sequence that's worth taking a shot because it's tough to find a single in here unless you really like, someone like Country Grammar or someone like that.
Dr. Stang says, glad to see both of us alive and well. Yeah, thanks. He's been well aware of both of our adventures in the last week or so here. Hey, by the way, congratulations to both you and Aaron. Did both of you hit the pick 5 from Parks last weekend?
No. I don't know what you're talking about.
Did Aaron?
No.
Did Aaron? Neither of you hit it? I didn't mean to be a jerk. I really thought Aaron hit it.
I think we missed one. I can't remember which race we missed. I'm pretty sure we went 4 out of 5.
Damn. Okay. I should have looked at the ticket, double checked the tickets before I changed everything here. Glad to see. Car Ramrod says, glad to see Mike is safe and you're on Men Magic. 90 minutes of content today should make up for it. If you want 90 minutes, that was the show that was on earlier today. Go back and check out Blinkers Off. Wow. You guys count on Jared for a good solid 90 minutes of content once a week.
I've already been on for 20 minutes today with Dudes Who Bet Daily. I'll be on for another 20 minutes with the halftime show on tonight during the football game. So you'll get your 90-minute fill of me, even if we only go 60 minutes here.
We've got Santa Anita's late pick 5 on Saturday, October 1st. We've got 4 stakes, 3 graded, including the Awesome Again, which is a win and you're in for the Classic if it matters. I guess here's a fees paid berth to go finish second to Flightline. All right, let's get into it, buddy. Riders up. I have had so much Gatorade in the last week. I'm so sick of Gatorade. Like I cannot wait to be done with Gatorade. But Santa Anita late pick 5, October 1st. Race 6 is going to kick this off, Mike. The Grade 2 Santa Anita Sprint Championship Stakes for 7 males, including a pair of 3-year-olds. Number 2, Forbidden Kingdom. Number 6, Kid Corleone. Forbidden Kingdom is the 9-5 morning line favorite here. He is not on your ticket.
No, I don't see why this horse should be 9-5. I don't see why this horse should be 4-1, to be honest. This is just one of those spots where I have no interest in the favorite. And if you look back at Forbidden Kingdom's races, what really put him on the map was the San Vicente when he blows away this field. But that field had Pinehurst and McLaren Vale, who were not good horses. He didn't really beat that much. And then he moves forward and goes into San Felipe and works. Oh, it was incredible. He beat Doppelganger. He didn't beat that. Then he goes and faces real horses and gets absolutely roasted. And that was the real horses in the 3-year-old crop. Now we're facing some better older sprinters here on the return. I just cannot lay this type of price on this horse. If you give me 10-1, I'd be interested in Forbidden Kingdom. But at 9-5, I think it's crazy talk.
Yeah, I see in the morning lines now as we're doing the show. I didn't see it when I handicapped. I don't like 9-5 on him, that's for sure. Listen, he and Kid Corleone, they're both on my ticket, so I'll at least say that part. But they both, one reason I can tell you why their morning lines are what they are, they both have the co-highest buyers of anyone in this field in 2022, which is a 98. Forbidden Kingdom did it earlier. That was a San Vicente, I think. And then Kid Corleone did it at Del Mar. So they both have, shown that they're fast. I used both of them because I really saw this almost as a 2-horse race where I expect the 2 and 6 to go early They seem like the two speed. And I think off the turn at the quarter pole, I think they're going to separate from everybody. It's going to come down to a duel, and it's going to end up being which of those two ends up holding on. But you're looking at this like it's to be more of a pace collapse. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this is going to be a pretty quick pace up front. I think that the 6 and the 2 are both going to absolutely go. 7, Totofino is going to sit right outside of them and get the perfect trip right in between behind those two. I think the 7 goes right on by top of the lane. And then it's a question of whether or not the 7 can hold off these other horses. And to me, it's a great shot at taking a little bit of a price here if we can get a little bit of a collapse. I mean, first off, CZ Rocket's like the class of this field, and is almost taking a class drop here with that out of Laurel River and American Theorems. Pat O'Brien, the grade 2 at Del Mar, getting back to 6 furlongs, which is a distance he's 4 for 12 at. I think I agree with you on it could be a 2-horse race, but I think the 2 horses will be the 1 and the 7, not the 2 and the 6 that are the main competition here.
I will never use CZ Rocket in a race where he can't use Lasix. Peter Miller said last year, if you remember, he's like, well, after he almost won the Bing Crosby, he's like, yeah, this horse needs Lasix. And then you look at his performances, and when he doesn't get Lasix, he's not competitive in the stakes races. He is very classy. It's just, for me, it's simply a matter of if he can run on Lasix, I'll consider him. But in a spot like this, I just can't trust him. We did both use a 7. You want to talk about him a little? I mean, he's 10 for 15 lifetime. We don't usually get horses like that that we can talk about. 7 for 9 on the dirt, or I guess 9 for 11. You got to remember too, this horse being a South American, he's Chilean bred. He's just now turning 5. Like, he was born 6 months later than a lot of the horses that he's going to be facing. So he is still kind of rounding into form. That race, Mike, I don't know if you looked at what's happened since then. You had the 3rd place winner, Sunrise Journey, get a 90 buyer for winning a race next out. The 6th place horse won next out, got a 93 buyer. 7th place one got an 82 buyer. There's horses coming out of this optional claimer, like winning left, right, and center all over the place. I mean, it's a little concerning to me that Barrios is on the stablemate, which I didn't use. Rispoli is a good replacement for him here, but it's so crazy that race has had so many next out winners.
It's a very impressive race too. I mean, 21-44, sits right to the outside, able to take over professionally down the lane. You mentioned this horse loves to win 10 of 15. Look, I'm more concerned when these Chilean breds come over to bet them in their first start than I am their second after they've won. Because you need to make sure that they can compete at this level in the U.S., in North America, before you get really excited about him. Well, look, he competed, and he looked awesome doing it. And so I like the 7 quite a bit. Like I said, I think he trips out. I'm going to use the 5 Super Ocho. One of the main reasons is Barrios is aboard. And the fact that this is the stablemate to the 7 who I really like. And you go back, and you know who rode this horse when it went 5.5 furlongs at Mountaineer? Our good old friend Barrios Hector. So if Hector decided to stay on this horse and he really picked this horse over the 7, I think the 7's awfully good. I don't see how you don't use the 5 sitting on the board at 10-1, especially coming out of the Green Flash, where he was facing Lieutenant Dan. We'll talk about Laneway. We'll talk about Courthard a little bit later. Very good turf sprinters in California. This is probably a weaker field than what he is coming out of. And I thought actually ran pretty well in that race and now gets Barrios back aboard. To me, this is a sneaky 10-1 shot that makes a ton of sense at 4.
I wanted to use this horse, and if there's a scratch, this is probably who comes in there. To me, it just seems like this horse is better on turf. And I would sit here and think, well, why isn't this horse in the turf race? It's because the horse that Hector Barrios rode in the Green Flash finished 4th, missed 2nd by a head and a half length, is a horse that I'm using, and I'm guessing you too, in the next race. So I think Amador Sanchez was like, I need to keep him in a race where I know he's going to win, and let's see what Super Ocho maybe does over here. You're right, getting a great price on him. If he can replicate that effort from Mountaineer here, he's going to be interesting. Did we miss anyone else from you? I can talk about Kid Corleone really quick. I haven't really mentioned him. It's a horse, first of all, if you follow the Racing Dudes Triple Crown Fantasy League, Aaron drafted this horse. Didn't quite work out for him because he didn't come back as a 3-year-old until July. But when he did, it's a field of 12 horses. 11 of them were at least 4 years old. He is the only 3-year-old in that race. That's where he comes back for his first race after a maiden win at Del Mar. Doug O'Neill throws him in there, dusts them like they're a cornfield in Iowa, destroys them, steps up to a harder spot, doesn't get quite the easy lead that he had gotten in before, but he still has a good effort. And now we're 3rd off the form cycle, 3rd time in his start later in his 3-year-old season. Those are angles that you like. Doug O'Neill is not an idiot. He's really good at putting horses in a spot like this where you're like, well, I don't know, it's a 3-year-old first-time stakes in this spot. This is not a very difficult renewal of this race, first of all. I think Kid Corleone fits here. And again, you and I are seeing this very differently. I think quarter pole, 2 and the 6 take off, and the 7's chasing. You think 2 and the 6 are dropping anchor, and here comes the 7. So it's just kind of we're seeing this very differently.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the 6 is more intriguing than the 2 is. I'll give you that. I think the 2 is, like I said, is just way underpriced for what we've seen this horse do, especially first time facing olders in a spot where we're sprinting 6 furlongs, which I like. We sure this horse wants to sprint 6 furlongs? So there's a lot of question marks for the 2 for me going, especially at that price. The 6, I can see your case. I'm afraid you're going to get the same setup as last time, and he proved he could not go that fast when dueling on the lead. And I yes, the 2 is going to go. The 5 could go. The 7 could go. There are other sneaky speeds in here that I think have the ability to go to the front if they want to. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's 3 horses that are up front. And if that happens, all of a sudden the collapse is definitely in play. And right now the 3 is on my ticket. I'm kind of going back and forth here on how be it. It's the collapse horse, right? It's completely the collapse horse. I'm playing this horse because I think the race could fall apart. And if it does, the 3 is the one who picks up the pieces, and you're going to get better than 8-1 on race day. I don't know if this is going to stay on my ticket because I don't like this horse that much. It's just the collapse play, right? And so it's like I went back and forth. We're going to leave it on for now because I don't think that the 4 picks up the race if it collapses. CZ Rocket could, but Howbeit's last race was actually pretty good, beating Kid Corleone, and was able to. And now you're getting, I think it's 3rd off the layoff here as well. 4th off the layoff. I'm sorry, but really,
3rd because he lost the rider in that first, so it is 3rd. Yeah.
So like to me, there's some upside here with Howbeit at 5. Like, yeah, we're gonna leave him on. I think he could pick it up, and you do have like 99 buyer. You've got back to back at Santa Anita and Del Mar. That was going 6.5. This is going 6. But still, this is the horse that could pick up the pieces down the lane. So I'm going to end up 1, 3, 5, 7. I talk myself off and then back on Howbeit in the matter of 2 minutes.
I went back and forth on him a little bit there. Fashionably Fast wins that race last time out. That Kid Corleone was in as well. I mean, Fashionably Fast is like an 18-time dirt stakes winner. I don't know what the hell he was doing in that optional. Nobody wanted to buy him for $80,000 at 8 years old, I guess. But that's a very talented horse to beat these guys in there. Mm-hmm. Mike Smith, I saw the stat in DRF. He and Mark Ladd are 6 for their last 13 together. That's pretty good. So he's hopping aboard for the first time. You're getting an upgrade over Maldonado, over Cedillo. Frankly, all the way back to Pratt, which is the last time this horse won. So I think this would be a great tournament horse. I think I don't see him winning just because I don't see a pace collapse, but you're right. This is the collapse horse. If it falls apart, I mean, Mike Smith's not going to put him into it early. He's going to let the horse just kind of dick around at the back and then give him one wide run, right?
I mean, you'd assume so. You probably don't even need to go wide. You're probably saving ground on the turn and then swinging out if you really want to, because it's really going to be him in the back. Maybe not above the wall back there with him too, but pretty much him in the back. Can we get the right trip? Can it set up for him? I think there's going to be enough pace early that it could collapse back. And if it does, to me, it's CZ Rocket or Howbeit that ends up winning the race.
Let's move on. Mike's second leg of the late pick 5 at Santa Anita Park on Saturday, October 1st. Race 7 is the Grade 2 Eddie D Stakes. First of 2 races we're going to cover, going 6.5 furlongs down the hillside turf course. Got a nice field of 9 older males, including one of Mike Somich's very best friends in the world, number 4 Gregorian Chant, your 5-2 morning line favorite. Mike, I went back and checked. You have picked him in each of his last 3 races. He didn't win any of those. Do you pick him in this one, and then does he get the job done?
Today's the day.
All right.
That I pick him and he gets the job done. Not that he doesn't. I'm gonna stick with it, man. And this time, honestly, this is actually pretty funny. When handicapping the race, I didn't realize he was in the sequence until a little behind on the weekend work. So I handicapped this today. Didn't realize he was in the sequence. And when I did, I'm like, oh shit. Matt's just gonna make fun of me if I pick this horse. Like, am I really gonna pick Gregorian Chant and put him on top? And I really tried not to. I tried really hard not to put the 4 on top here. But the 4 is kind of logical, isn't it? Like, Gregorian Chant really fits well here. Like, he's 5 for 11 at Santa Anita, loves the downhill turf course. The Jaipur was loaded. The turf sprint was loaded. He ran well in both those races. Like, this is a logical spot with a good pace setup. Should get a nice trip. Likes the course. I couldn't help myself. Good jock. Like, so yeah, give me the 4 on top. I'm gonna take Gregorian Chant on top. I'm gonna go 3 deep, but I don't see how you don't use this 4 horse.
Yeah, you and I went 3 deep here. We agreed on 2, and this is one of them. D'Amato's got 2 in here, the 4 and the 5 Coulthard. I didn't use Coulthard. I don't know if you did, but your argument for this horse, Gregorian Chant, in previous races was just like, look how he goes down the hill. He's looked good this year. You go back to that March race. He looked as good as ever when he won that race going down the hill. So he was 4th, beaten by a neck and a half length for 2nd in this race last year. Lieutenant Dan won it. Lieutenant Dan was a freak of nature turf sprinting in California at that point. So if you scratch out the 2 times he tried the Jaipur, I mean, this horse went to like over Kentucky Derby weekend, went to Churchill Downs and got third. He missed second by a nose in the major turf sprint of the weekend. That is really good. I'm not going to make fun of you. He's not my top pick. He's my second choice, but I did use him.
All right, I'll take that. I'm happy with that. All right, let's talk about the 8 Dubai Key. You hinted that I'm probably using this horse, and guess what? I am using this horse. Another Hector Berrios horse, again, for Amador Sanchez. So we're hoping they can go back to back here, go 5-8 into the cold double here. I think Dubai Key gets the lead. I was really impressed Dubai Key was able to get in front of Lieutenant Dan last time out, but that really cost him the race, trying to go that fast, that quickly. I think that this is a good spot where he should be able to be the controlling speed. There will be other speed, but I think he'll be able to get out and control the speed. I want to make sure I have that horse on my ticket because I think it makes a ton of sense to someone trying to go gate to wire here. And we've seen the Santa Anita turf course, especially when there hasn't been a ton of rain in Santa Anita, have horses go gate to wire regularly. And so I want who I believe is the controlling speed, and that's the 8 Dubai Key.
This horse was my top pick in the Green Flash, actually. I love this horse's chances. I was like, oh, he's on the rail. He's a speed horse. He's going to just blitz, do like he did last race. He tried. It didn't quite work out, but I think that he's drawn a lot better. If you don't know, when they go down the hill and they load in the gate, the one is going to be towards the inside rail, but they have to turn right. So the 8 horse is going to have the inside path on that right-hand turn and should have everybody cleared. And then we'll have the inside path as they make the big wide sweeping turn. I think he's in a perfect spot here. It was 3 for 3 in America before the Green Flash last time out. Always looked good. He's won going longer than 5 furlongs before. So even though that's all he's done in America, if you look at the breeding, there's nothing that says he shouldn't be able to handle 6.5, especially because the first furlong and a half, Mike, it's downhill. So you're just kind of like jogging anyways. You're not really using your full speed. So yeah, I'm with you. We agree on the 4-8. Here's where we're going to split. Who's your third horse?
I'm going to go with the 9, Tango, Tango, Tango. It's another favorite of mine, not going to lie. Used this horse a couple times. But I mentioned that there's other speed in this race, and I do think that there may be some pace pressure. I do think that, like I said, the 8, Dubai Key, is the one to most likely get the lead and control it up front. But you have Gully, the 3 who wants to go. Air Force Red, the 2, has some speed. I think the 9 horse cutting back here is really interesting. And one of the main reasons is you look at the last workout from Jack Sisterson. You see that 45 and change for 4 furlongs. He is trying to put more speed in this horse specifically to set this horse up to serve sprint. He saw that workout. He decided we're good to go. We're going to fire with Tango, 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 who may be one of the classier horses in this field when you look back at who this horse has faced in the last 3 races, including Masterpiece, Gold Phoenix. I mean, Hong Kong Harry. Those are some very, very good turf horses in California. And now you're cutting back to this sprint. The real question mark with Tango, Tango, Tango is that cutback. But at 8-1, I'm willing to ask the question, right? You're getting the right price to say, hey, look, if he can sit right behind this speed, and that 45 isn't a fluke and he can go on with it, all of a sudden you're getting a great price on a classy horse who should get a great trip. So I'm going to go 4, 8, 9 here and kind of have one in each flight. I'll have the leader, that mid-pack horse, hopefully in Tango, 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 and Gregorian Chant charging from the back.
I considered it's always interesting where Jack Sisterson spots his horses, like the talented ones like this. And you always feel like they're going to have a chance whether it works out or not. I didn't end up using, but you're right. This horse has got talent. Won the American Derby after breaking his, or as a maiden, and then almost won the Bruce D at Arlington, which is a grade 1. And he's shown a lot of ability here. It'd be interesting if he wins this because he's already won this year, 7.5 going 2 turns at Gulfstream in 1.25 miles. So to then also win this race at 6.5 furlongs, that'd just be pretty special. You don't really see horses do that. A son of Tourist forever be an asshole to me because he won the 2016 Breeders' Cup Mile and he beat Tepin in their last start. And it's like how a lot of people feel about Blame with Zenyatta. I feel a little bit that way about Tepin and Tourist. I'm like, I see Tourist. I'm like, yeah. Tourist. I don't.
Alphabet Soup and Cigar.
Another good one. There you go. Last horse for me, actually my top pick we haven't talked about. Number 2, Air Force Red. This horse is 2 for 2 going down the hillside turf course, including breaking from post 2 before, including with Victor Espinoza aboard. He's back aboard here. Second time out going down the hill, beat a horse named Iridio. Iridio, after that race, went to Del Mar and won the Oceanside Stakes with a 93 buyer. So beat a good horse. That 5 furlong sprint where Air Force Red went didn't go well. That was the race Dubai Key won, but had a pretty rough trip. Try stretching out to the Del Mar Mile. I thought actually did a pretty good job considering this horse. If you look at how he runs, is definitely a 1-turn horse. I thought he did okay there to hold on and finish 4th. He beat over half the field still to do that. He was a head away from 3rd. Cathkin Peak was that horse. Hong Kong Harry and Iridio in there. So good horses that he was behind. And now we're going to be cutting back. Espinoza and Leonard Powell, 4 for 9 together at Santa Anita. So when Espinoza rides for the Frenchman, things go pretty well. This horse has got a lot of talent, the turf sprinting. I think this is a good spot. I don't think this is a need the lead type, and I could see why some people would think that. If you look at the horse's maiden breaking effort, it was going a flat 6.5 at Santa Anita when the hillside was temporarily shut down, was able to stalk horses from the outside. Breaking from the 2 posts going down the hill, he is going to have to kind of take that position a little bit. So I think that he's shown the ability to sit off and take still be able to win. But I could also see, if you look at his recent form, Mike, the 2 times going down the hill, he won gate to wire. So if you think that's not and he's not fast enough to lead, I definitely admit that. So I can understand if that's why it would turn you off of him.
It was the main knock for me. I think he needs to lead to be most effective. I agree with you. He did come from off the pace in the maiden score, but that was against maidens. So to me, this is a very much different field, much different horses you have to pass. And he was never far off it there, right? And this is going to be a big time test for him, stepping up here and seeing if he can take on this field. I know you're just using this one because you love Victor Espinoza. It's fine. You can just say you're a Victor Espinoza fanboy and we can move along. Look, I don't think this horse gets the lead, and that means I don't want to bet the horse. And that to me is like, it's just tough because, like I said, it's a tough sequence too. I went 4 deep in the first leg. I think Lane's Way could win this race. I think Air Force Red could win this race. I wouldn't be shocked if Kalleward won this race. But I'm not using any of those 3 horses because I feel like I got this race covered with 4, 8, 9.
Yeah, no, you did a great job kind of picking the right ones. Dr. Tang, I didn't know you're still an owner of Lane Way. Lane Way, the owner of the track record at San Diego, going to flat 6 furlongs. I didn't use him because I feel like he always gets over bet. He loves to run second a lot of times when in wherever he's running. But Charles B brought up the 7. What makes Sammy run for Mark Ladd? Before we move on, did you consider this horse? Because I toyed with adding him for a bit.
I thought about it a little bit. You texted me the other day and said Joe Bravo is one of the only people that can win over the turf in California right now. He's picking up the mount here. 8-1 is what kept me off this horse. I mean, did run well against Dubai Key 2 back. So you can definitely make a case that he kind of fits in that sense. Ran well in the Jaipur. But this is just one of those horses when you look back, okay, where does he won, right? And it's Santa Anita, those 2 6 furlong races, both around 1 turn. That was last year with Pratt aboard against flat 3-year-olds. Now we're facing 3 and up. Like there's holes I can poke in those Santa Anita wins, and the price isn't enough to get me excited. If you're giving me that 25-1 in the Jaipur here, let's have a different conversation. But the 8-1 seems a little bit too short for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. The horse to me, I've seen enough of his races. He makes his own trouble too often, and in a turf sprint of this kind of a field size, I can't use a horse like that. So is one that's interesting. Respect the horse, and yeah, like you said, Joe Bravo is one of the top turf riders right now in California. Let's move on. 3rd leg of the late pick 5 at Santa Anita on Saturday, October 1st. Race 8, the grade 1 Awesome Again Stakes, 8 males, 3 and up. Going a mile and 1/8 on the main track to win and yearn for the Breeders' Cup Classic. This also features the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place finishers from the Pacific Classic. They're all they're all happy that Flightline's not here, honestly. They're like, oh, good, a grade 1. We can try and win without Flightline before we have to face them again. Where are you going on top, buddy?
And don't tell Country Grammar that. He thought he won. He got beat by 20.
True.
And he thought he won when he was coming back. He was so excited about himself. Look, I want to know why you're a hater. You're not using Country Grammar here. How in the world are you not using Country Grammar here?
2 reasons. The price, I think he's going to be way too short of a price. He is not a 1 1/8 horse. He is a 1 1/4 horse. That horse loves a 1 1/4, but he has been beaten by some of these at a 1 1/8 before. He's shown multiple times he is vulnerable at a 1 1/8. He's more of a grinder, and he needs that 1 1/4.
I mean, he ran a 108 buyer going a 1.125 over this track. And he's 4 starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds going.
But he didn't win that race, did he, Michael?
No, he lost to Royal Ship. I hear you.
That's right. Thank you.
By the way, I'm not using. So that's the interesting part of this. I think Country Grammar is a standout in this spot. I think he's going the best right now of any of these horses. That the Royal Ships of the world, like trading races, lost to Tripoli, lost to Express Train, lost to all these horses in the back class. I also think Royal Ship's better at Del Mar than Santa Anita. I realize it does have that win, specifically the race we were mentioning over Santa Anita with that career high buyer, but his Del Mar form is more consistent than his Santa Anita form has been in my mind. So I like the 4 Country Grammar quite a bit on top here. I think he's going to look good here, 3rd off the layoff, 3rd off after coming back from overseas, and really in his final prep before he goes to Breeders' Cup Classic. He also probably took the worst of it and dusted everybody in this last start. I thought he was by far the most impressive horse outside of Flightline in the Pacific Classic. I'm going to stick with Country Grammar here on top, and I'm only going to go too deep. And Express Train's the other one I'm interested in. Look, first off the layoff, I'll excuse that Del Mar race. This horse loves Santa Anita. 11 starts, 4 wins, 4 seconds. All of his career best races are at Santa Anita. If there's a horse for course in this race, it's the 7 Express Train. It's why I'm including him in this spot. I think if anyone steps back up to their best race ever, it's Express Train that I would expect it from. I think Country Grammar can improve, but it's going to be tough to get back to that 108 level that we saw last year. But I think Express Train can get back to that mid 100s if he really wants to from a buyer's perspective, or those time form numbers he's running in that race. And with that, he is very dangerous in this spot. So I'm just going to go 4-7 and close the book on this one.
We agree on Express Train. That's actually my top pick. And I don't know if Express Train maybe once has ever been a top pick of mine. I usually try to find a way to beat this horse, but you nailed it, Mike. He is a horse for course at Santa Anita if there is one in this field. You look what happened the end of 2021 into spring of 2022. Even this race last year, he was third, beaten pretty handily. But if you remember, that was an extremely deep, tiring, slow track. Top 2 early were top 2 late. He was the only one that closed. And from there, he springs that forward into winning 3 straight, then gets second in the Californian. Something kind of went off with him. It was a little wonky. I'm with you. I'll forgive the Del Mar effort. He just was kind of out there spinning the wheels, but nobody was beating Flightline, right? So whatever, screw that. He comes back to this spot. He's 4 for 11 at Santa Anita. He's 8 for 11 in the exacta here. I had to use him on top. I'm going to use Royal Ship instead of Country Grammar. Royal Ship hates Del Mar. He really does. He's had one good race there. It was back in the San Diego. Other than that, he just really doesn't ever seem like he enjoys it. He ends up finishing 3rd in the Pacific Classic. He was within 7 lengths of Country Grammar. It was just such a weird race. It's hard to figure out what, other than the fact that he just kind of showed up. That's a good sign. He doesn't like 10 furlongs. That was a 10 furlong race. He loves 9 furlongs. He doesn't run 2 good races in a row, but when he runs a clunker, he usually responds with a really strong race. And a lot of times that happens at Santa Anita. So I'm looking for this horse to find some more of that grade 2 Californian magic and don't do the grade 1 Gold Cup, which is when things got reversed. But, mile and 1/8, mile and 1/4. I'm hoping that's where things go here.
Look, you can just say you're the number 1 fan of Mike Smith too and move along. I get it. You're just using all the jockeys you love today in these races. I think this is interesting in the chat here. This kind of feels like a little Chad Brown-esque, right? Baffert's got 4 in here. You feel like one could be setting up the other. I actually took a long look at the 1 Azul Coast. Really interesting spot for this horse. I mean, this is not your run-of-the-mill, hey, we're going to come back as a 5-year-old in a spot and see what happens. Like, this is a really aggressive placing for a horse that Bob Baffert was pretty high on early in his career. 20-1 Barrios. There's something to like here. I'm the one for me. I'm not going to use it, but it's one of those that I would consider putting on a ticket if I'm going to try and bomb out here.
It is interesting. I didn't realize this horse hasn't been running. He still hasn't run since December. I thought this horse was in a race a couple. You know what it is? He and Defunded are owned by the same guys, and I always think of Defunded and Azul Coast as the same. They win about the same, so that makes sense. Actually, no, Defunded's won twice at Santa Anita. Azul Coast is 0 for 5 here.
And why I didn't use them was that 0 for 5. And the horse is 4 for 11 career. So he's 4 for 6 everywhere else, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So this horse likes to win everywhere but Santa Anita. That really is the reason I ended up not putting this horse in here. I'll be interested to see if any of the Bafferts scratch here as well. I think that because you have Country Grammar, I think you have the best horse in the race. It's interesting to put 3 others in here, especially like the one coming off the layoff. You're really showing a lack of respect for the other California dirt horses here by putting Azul Coast in the spot if you actually think he can cash.
How the hell is this horse 0 for 5 at Santa Anita and 4 for 6 anywhere else?
I'm just blowing your mind with Azul Coast.
That anywhere else is 3 tracks. It's Del Mar, Golden Gate,
and
Los Al, and Del Mar's turf, if you want to count that. Well, that's the one time he finished off the board.
Yeah.
Was the turf. Wow. Yeah, you blew my mind there. By the way, speaking of Bafferts on turf, let's move on to the next race. Penultimate leg of the late pick 5 at Santa Anita on Saturday, October 1st, race 9. We're going back down the hill. It's the ungraded Unzip Me Stakes for 11 3-year-old fillies. I bring up the Baffert because 7, Grace Adler, Bob Baffert trainee, grade 1 winner at 2 on dirt. She's going to try turf in this spot. It's interesting. Did you use Grace Adler?
Of course not. Bob Baffert's awful on the turf. I'm just not a Bob Baffert turf person. 0 for 13 first-time turf, 64-cent ROI turf sprints, 66-cent ROI dirt to turf. hard pass. I know he's 21% overall on turf. He does have decent numbers, but this is Bob Baffert. Those aren't Bob Baffert-esque numbers. Those are regular trainer-esque numbers. So when he goes to turf, I usually pass, especially if I think the horse is going to be bet. This is a horse that's going to be bet in this spot. I don't think you're going to get 5-1. So I just really don't have much interest in Grace Adler in this spot, especially when I do like a couple prices in here. I think the 5 makes a ton of sense, Connie Swingle. So I'm not going to go into too much in why I'm using her. I think it's just a really logical use. But let's talk about the 8, Tezzeret. This is a horse that I used last time in the Del Mar Oaks, finished 4th at 43-1. I thought actually ran a very good race in that spot. And I think this horse might actually be better sprinting. I like the cutback for Tezzeret, who I think will be able to show a decent kick, has good races at a mile. Note that Irad Ortiz rode this horse twice for Peter Miller last year. Clearly thinks highly of this horse if that's who's calling to get the mount. To put her in a little bit over her head last time, like I said, in the Del Mar Oaks, but came back off a monster layoff in a grade 2, went straight to a grade 1. And now we're here sprinting down the hill. I think Tezzeret makes a ton of sense at 12-1. There's my boy Barrio Sector coming right back at it, baby. So this horse is one of those where, like, when you have a must use like this, I mean, this is probably a win bet for me. This is definitely a tournament horse for me. I think Tezzeret makes a lot of sense in a race that's pretty wide open.
If Tezzeret wins, I'm going to be so mad because I was honoring the San Clemente and I was honoring the Del Mar Oaks. She didn't win either one of them, Mike.
She improved a lot in the Del Mar Oaks, though. A lot.
She did.
That was a long layoff between the last race and San Clemente.
And she had a shit. I mean, she wasn't winning the San Clemente anyway. She was starting to fade when she had the trip trouble, but she probably would have been probably 6th in that race. You know, not 10th, beating 6 1/4. But hey, maybe if sprinting is her game, if she ends up getting it done here, more power to her. I'm off of her train, and if this is when it ends up biting me in the ass, I'm gonna be very upset about it. I'm with you. I went the top pick wise, Connie Swingle. I mean, if you go against her, it's simply because you're trying to take a shot against her at a price. I mean, she's, I had away from being a 2-time dirt sprint stakes winner in the Callbred ranks at 2 and then at 3. She's looked impeccable on the turf, so it's really hard to not use her. The next up for me, I'm actually going with the number 2 Delmona. The horse is going to be 6-1 for Jeff Mullins. Starts her career overseas. Is Group 3 placed, misses winning a stakes by a neck, misses the Group 3 by a neck as well. Comes to America at Santa Anita, debuts going down the hillside turf, almost wins, misses by a head, comes back, same level, same course a month later, gets the job done with Reese Bully in the irons both of those times. We move to the Senorita. Reese Bully's riding for D'Amato. Senorita doesn't work out. Maybe she's not a 2-turn horse. We wait. Now we're going to send her to Monmouth Park to a different trainer. We're going to go and tackle the 3-year-old turf sprint stakes. Get second, a really nice second at Monmouth, and then we go to Saratoga, Mike, and we get 3rd in that Galloway Stakes, almost winning Empress Tigers in that Poppy Flower. So many strong turf sprinters from the East Coast are in there, and she got 3rd. That was a damn good effort. She comes back here. Reese Bully's back aboard. She's done very well down this course before, and 6-1. I love it. If I can get 6-1, I think that is a great price on this horse.
I use this one too. I see this trainer switch as a positive. Mullins, very good turf sprinting. And you know what? You didn't mention that was the change last race.
Oh, I missed it. You're right. The blinkers. They had
this
the blinkers
is a sneaky second-time blinkers angle too, because you don't necessarily catch it because of the trainer thing. But this is a horse that could take a step forward, second-time blinkers, showed additional speed and focus with the blinkers the first time. I would expect to do the same thing here. I really like the 2 here, Delmona as well, or Delmona as well. You mentioned the reasons, like the East Coast Spring. That was a very good race that she came out of that last time. Gets her career high buyer, blinkers on. Now we're getting second blinkers, coming back to a better turf spring trainer. All systems go, baby. I like the 6-1 price as well.
I completely missed that. And it's interesting too that Mullins on the trainer change keeps the blinkers on when he never had them on her before, but because maybe it worked out last time. So yeah, that's really interesting. Last one on for me, I went 3 deep. I did use Grace Adler here. This is a filly that maybe turf is going to be where she's best because she is not a front runner. She cannot be competing on the dirt in California against the 3-year-olds if she doesn't have that early speed. She got that grade 1 win because she circled everybody. You come to the turf, you can use that turn of foot a lot better here. You know, you look at the horses that she faced last time out, she was over 7 lengths clear of the rest of the field that she was facing. She had the horses Midnight Memories and Desert Dawn, who were 1-2 the entire way, and they just merry-go-round themselves, and she had no way of trying to catch them. But she still was miles the best of everyone else in that grade 3 race. Bob Baffert, after that, puts her on it. By the way, 4 days after that race, puts her on the turf at Del Mar before they have to leave Del Mar. He wants to see, can she handle it? I think that might have been a little bit of a clue to try this race, because then after that, 47-4 for a furlong, 59-3. She looks like she came out of that race very strong. The time wasn't impressive, but the fact that he put her on the turf and now enters her here, to me, I don't think it's just him throwing darts. I think this is a time where he actually thinks this might be a turf filly.
I think this is a very disappointing move from him. $750,000 daughter of Curlin that he's running graded stakes on the dirt. We're dropping into an $85K listed on the turf. The next step here is $50,000 claimers. That's where this horse is going next after we lose this race. So I'll pass on Grace Adler for that reason. This
is filly. She's going to go to the breeding shed.
Well, maybe we'll see. But has she won enough yet to go to the breeding shed? Anyway,
she's a Grade 1 winner.
Yeah, they're fine. Okay. Still, why is she in an 85K stakes? Like, if you think she's that good on turf, why is this the spot she lands in? It's one of those.
It's restricted to 3-year-olds. It's hard. I know there's a lot of questions about it. And this was, the last one of the 3 that made it. I didn't use the last one that's off the ticket for me was the number 3, Lexington Humor, Jonathan Wong horse. Has shown a lot of speed. She's really kind of progressed every time. She went from her maiden win to Santa Anita and ran into Connie Swingle, but the 4th place finisher from that race won next out with a 73 buyer, and she wasn't that far off of or she was just a neck away, from second. So did you consider the 3 at all?
Tough jockey change, man. Going from Rispoli to Van Dyke and Rispoli going to the 2. That hurt. Like that was the reason why I didn't really give the 3 a long look. The horse I did give a long look that's getting some love in the chat here is actually Island of Love here. The 9 horse, who I was a little interested in last time out for D'Amato. You get Bravo aboard. I think this horse makes a ton of sense if we're going a little bit longer. That was my main thing here. I don't think a mile might even be a little bit, is probably the bred like right there, but maybe a little bit too short. I don't want any part of this horse at 6.5 furlongs. That was the differentiator to me.
I was trying to remember, was Kodiak a sprinter? I'm looking it up right now. Let me see. 7. He was a 7 furlong horse. The sire Kodiak. Because I was interested in this one because we haven't seen this horse sprint go one turn in America before. She just had those 2 races and they're in Italy, and you don't really know what was she facing. She was 2, so were there even any chances for them to go longer? But she is interesting. I would have liked a better price on her. The fact that she was a complete dud in the Del Mar Oaks and 13-1, 5-1 isn't enough of a price. I need a little bit more to take her here.
Yeah, and Kodiak 17% turf sprinting, actually better than turf routing. But this is the only horse out of the mare so far, so I don't have a ton of information from a family perspective. Look, I get why people would like the 9. It makes sense. I think the price should be pretty good. Like you should get 6-1, 7-1, maybe somewhere in that range. And D'Amato, obviously, in turf in California, does pretty well. So it wouldn't be one of those spots where I chuck this horse out. Hernandez rode this horse last time out. JJ Hernandez. To me, it was the 3 in the first leg or the 9 here, and I went with the 3 in the first leg.
On that note, great question. Let's bring us back to Grace Adler real quick. You're JJ Hernandez. You've ridden for Phil D'Amato. You've won a Grade 3 and then Grade 3, Grade 2 placed. Did you lose the mount? No, because I don't think you lost the mount off of that. Did Baffert tell you have to ride Grace Adler if you want to keep riding my other horses? Like,
this is a financial decision.
In his mind, why did he move to Baffert off of a D'Amato for a turf stakes? I
mean, it's a business decision. If Baffert calls you up and asks you to ride, and maybe you don't know Island, he probably didn't think Island of Love was going to this spot either. I mean, we don't know how forward, because this isn't where you would expect Island of Love to show up. But if Baffert calls up Hernandez and say, hey, I want you to ride a horse in stakes, you know what your answer is? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I mean,
he's never even ridden the horse before. It's just interesting to me.
Because he wants the 2-year-old mounts, right? I mean, that's what he's looking for. He's looking for 2-year-old male mounts, and that's what
Derby
he wants to be on. Yeah, and so you say yes to him. You don't say yes to D'Amato because D'Amato's not going to put you in the Derby.
Or Phil D'Amato. He tries.
It's just saying, man.
He tries, but Phil D'Amato does not have a cave rock that we have seen so far. Mike, we got one more race to cover here. The late pick 5, the final leg at Santa Anita Park on Saturday, October 1st. Race 10. I think this one is the straight sprint. Yes, we're going to be doing, there it is. Flat 6 furlong sprint, down the backstretch. We got an overdrawn field here of 12 2-year-old maiden fillies, plus the also eligible number 13, Canthara. If she draws in, she might be interesting. But let's take a look at here, Mike. Who are you going with on top in this final race?
I'm going to go with a 9, Candy Caramel on top for Peter Miller. I thought this race, the horses race 2 back was good. That last race, the juvenile fillies turf, I thought was excellent as well, considering we were a maiden facing winners. I was really uninspired by a lot of these first-time starters. This is a race where I would generally try and find a first-time starter, but the combination of the sires and how shitty these trainers are first time out really moved me away from a lot of the horses of the first out effort. So I'm looking at the horses that have run before, and to me, the 9 has the most impressive running pedigree in that sense, where I can actually point to races and say, hey, this will be tough to beat in this field if we can run back to it. Peter Miller, turf sprinting, pretty good. I like Vasquez as a turf sprinting rider. I think the 9 is the horse to beat in this spot. It's not all that creative, but I think it's a very likely winner.
Charles has got a dart throw in here. I mean, this is an interesting field. Like
if it's a firster, good luck, man. Like
I did the same thing. So you went too deep. I used both of yours. So we can talk about the other horse in a second, but I also did the same thing. I tried looking for a firster. I did go with one, but let's talk. Might end up being my top pick, the number 7, the dance between for Phil D'Amato. Hector Berrios riding this one.
Berrios has a day. Let's get a nice little quad box here for Berrios.
Let's hope that we're not jinxing him here, buddy. He might call us after this and be like, guys, stop. You need to kill it. Listen, the 2 and the 7 exit the same race. Neither of us using the 2, which I think is interesting for me. The 7, I thought, had a poor break, but finished very strongly, whereas the 2 kind of ran in place most of the time. I think the extra furlong is going to benefit this horse. Adding the blinkers is good. Priced better than the 2 is right now. Drawn better than the 2 is, who's buried way down inside. I think 6-1 here. If I like that we're both avoiding the 2.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the replay. This was the better horse in the race when you bring everything into effect, right? The horse just didn't break well. So you don't really know what type of early speed you have here with the 7, the dance between, but the workouts aren't bad. You'd think that it's a little bit more speed than what we've seen. I like the add of blinkers. D'Amato is 17% when adding blinkers. This horse has generally improved second start. This horse is more forwardly placed. He's going to be really difficult coming down the lane. And like you said, the 2 just kind of kept running. I mean, just didn't really stop, but didn't really go either. And so it felt like that race probably wasn't that good, and that the learning experience the 7 got from that first start could help propel him forward here, or her forward here, for the second start of her career and get her into the winner's circle much more likely than the 2.
The last one for me, I did go with the 5, Mystified Doll for Mandela. Umberto Rispoli going to ride. I looked this up, and you would think Mandela, being a solid trainer, Rispoli, one of the top riders out here, they'd have a pretty good rate. They're 3 for 36 together. They actually don't have that strong of a win rate, but they're 21 for 36 hitting the board, which is almost 60%. So that's good. All 3 of those wins came on the turf. I think they're 3 for 27 on turf together. So to me, of all the first-time starters, this was the one that had the most appeal, because when was the last time somebody went $350,000 for an Indiana bred or a child of Mizzenmast who stands for $7,500? This horse that had a 3 furlong blowout back on the 6th of September was also eligible that didn't draw into the final weekend of Del Mar. Mandela instead, because we didn't draw in, okay, we're going to reroute for Santa Anita for the turf, the first race, the first weekend there. Do a 5 furlong, nice second best of 31 there. Then we go 6 furlongs, nice little stamina builder there. Easy 4 furlongs. This horse is ready, keyed up. I think based off the workout patterns, the connections, the breeding, I think this horse has the best chance of the first-time starters. Your thoughts?
Horse was my 3rd choice in, so I agree with you on that front.
Well, there we go.
I have the 1 as a possible 2. Gary Barber for Peter Miller, Hernandez up. I thought that, but I don't love the post draw with the 1 breaking first.
That's
time
why I avoided it.
My biggest issue here on the 5 is we're 8% first time starters and we're 3% first turf. And so maybe this is the next start. It's where we're going to actually see the victory. It's just in a sequence where I'm already pushing the limits of what I want to spend on it. I would have had to cut somewhere else. Didn't really want to do that to try and force the 5 in here. But I agree with everything that you said from hey, it makes a ton of sense because of what the horse costs. Like if you decide, hey, I want a single country grammar, this is a horse I would add. I would add the 9 in the last race, the 5 here, single country grammar. There you go. Bing, bang, boom. Got a little more coverage. You hope the country grammar gets home. And this would be one that makes logical sense. I mean, I agree with Bill. The works here on this fight doll make this horse a must play. He nailed it. And I think that your point of how much this horse sold for is the other key factor in why this horse is one that you could definitely put on tickets. I mean, like you said, $350,000 son of Mizzenmast, or daughter of Mizzenmast, who stands for $7,500. That's a hell of a multiplier for the hammer to drop. So I think you can make a case for the 5 here if you want to. Again, my 3rd horse in, my last horse off in this race. Just I couldn't fit it for the price.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to go through Santa Anita's late pick 5 that is Saturday, October 1st. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks so much. Give us a like. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take a look below. We have our tickets. We'll go through them for our podcast listeners one last time. I'll go 267 with 248 with 2-7, with 2-5-7, with 5-7-9. Boy, hoping Barrios and the number 2 have a good day. That's $81 for me. Mr. Somich, go ahead.
This episode is brought to you by Barris. And the number 7, you had 4 7s there as well. I'm going to go 1-3-5-7 with 4-8-9, with 4-7, with 2-5-8, with 7-9. That'll cost you $72 for 50 cents. Lots of Barrios, lots of 7s, lots of 2s. Let's get hot, baby.
I'm excited about it. Let us know if you're playing, what you think about it. Mike, did you want to go over football? Or I know you've been Dudes Bet Daily. You've got the halftime show. If you want to pass on it, I'll understand.
We can talk about it a little bit. For me, look, Dolphins fan, looking forward to the Dolphins. By the way, the Magic did make a great point when he sent me the text. We chose this one over Aqueduct because we think this is actually a good sequence to bet. If you have opinions, this is a fun one to play. If you can find a single and spread around a little bit more, great way to attack this sequence as well if you've got a big opinion. So this is, in my mind, the better late pick 5 of the 2 on Saturday, the major tracks that are going to be running. Football, look, Miami Dolphins, love them. Really happy we were able to beat the Bills. Really shitty spot for them tonight. It's just really tough to think that they're going to be able to play back-to-back massive games, the Miami Heat, and then come back on short rest, travel while this hurricane's going on in their state, be completely focused. Oh, by the way, their quarterback had a concussion, has a bad ankle and a bad back. I know the concussion is whatever, but trust me, you don't wibble wobble like that. I mean, he was stumble bunny out there. When you see that, it kind of gives away what happened there, especially when you're headbanging the turf in the previous play. So a lot of questions with Tua there at quarterback. Waddle was in and out of practice all week. The defense played 93 snaps and 102 heat against their division rival 4 days ago. That's not good. That's not a positive. That's why you saw this line go from -2 when it opened all the way up to 4.5 at one point. Now it's back down to 3.5. I think if you can get the first half at 2.5 or less, it's a great play. I think if you can find a 3, even if it's a juice 3 with Cincinnati, I like it. And I would lay the 3.5 if I was going to pick a specific side in this spot.
I know that our Giants and Titans bets took not a step forward, not a step backwards, just a side step over the weekend, but we're still feeling pretty good about that. Boy, those Eagles, though. I don't know about the division bet.
The division bet's pretty good. We needed to win that game for the division. You got to be Cooper Rush at home when you want to win that division. So that one could be in a little trouble if we don't see Jalen Hurts go down at some point. But you never know with that. That's another interesting game to me. That in my mind, I made this case yesterday on Dudes Bet Daily. I think Jacksonville is the most overrated team in the football market right now, and that's coming from someone who bet them all 3 weeks. This game was -9 preseason. So if you have your power rankings, you have 9-point difference between Philadelphia and Jacksonville. Philadelphia's been upgraded 4 to 5 points since the season started. Jacksonville would have to be like a 10-point increase to get to this number, down under a touchdown. It makes no sense that Jacksonville has been upgraded that much when they beat a absolutely depleted Colts team with no wide receivers in Jacksonville, where Indianapolis traditionally struggles, then traveled all the way across the country and faced a crushed Chargers team. We're talking no Bosa. We're talking out their number 1 and 2 offensive linemen. We're talking no starting wide receiver, no number 3 wide receiver. Herbert shouldn't have been playing. J.C. Jackson was out for that game. Now you're flying all the way back to Jacksonville. By the way, you're dealing with a distraction. Then you're going to fly to Philadelphia. It's a bad spot for Jacksonville, who is overhyped right now and is getting all this love. And I think they are legit good. But you can't tell me that they have been 2.5 more points more impressive than Philadelphia to start so far, who maybe has been the most impressive team in the NFL. The Week 1 Detroit game, they fixed those problems. They dominated the second half against Minnesota. They dominated the second half against Washington. And Jacksonville's offensive line really struggled against Washington. If Philly gets up, they're going to bring the heat on Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be a very long day.
I remember the Week 1. I bet them to lose to Washington, to the Commanders, and they did. And that was like, then thinking like, listen, if this was 8 weeks down the line, I think they can do it, but it's still early. So
that's a great point, Magic. They lost to the Commanders as 3.5-point dogs. The Commanders just got rocked by Philadelphia. By Philadelphia. That doesn't make any sense. You're telling me there's only a 3-point difference between Washington and Philadelphia? That's what this line does. It's the line. The market is overreacted to Jacksonville. Jacksonville may very well cover, but the market has overreacted to it. This line shouldn't be under 7.
For more insights on football, make sure you tune in later tonight for the Thursday Night Football halftime show with this man right here, Mike Somich, and Saratoga Slim at what time?
Usually it's around 9:40, somewhere right in there. Yeah, give or take.
Perfect.
But we'll go on right when the first half ends. I'll give you my second half bet. We'll talk a little about the game, give you my best bet for this weekend, which, by the way, I haven't given out yet. And yeah, little teaser there, radio style. Just call me Mike Greenberg from now on. And then Slim's going to give out.
I'd never do that.
No, just don't. I'd punch you. And then Slim's going to give out his 2 best props for the weekend as well. So a lot of bets on the BetPalooza show at halftime. That will be on Twitter as well, on all 3 Twitters, my Twitter, Slim's Twitter, and the Racing Dudes as well. So you check us out on Twitter, check us out right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and like this video as well to get it out there as much as possible. And make sure you know whenever we go live on these type of shows.
Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I am at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Blinkers Off was already out earlier today, so you can check that out. It is a massive weekend, the first of 3 really major Breeders' Cup prep weekends. So action at Aqueduct, Belmont at the Big A, Churchill Downs, Santa Anita Park. I did actually, let me pull this back down for a second because I forgot to show this. We already have some previews up on the site right now for the for the ACAC. The Woodward Stakes is up there. You'll see the John Hedinger, which is on Friday at Aqueduct, but we'll have stuff for Saturday and Sunday as well. So make sure you check that out. And like Mike said, if you haven't yet, subscribe to youtube.com/racingdudes. Make sure you join us back here every Wednesday through Sunday every Wednesday through Friday and Sundays at noon Eastern, and then at 11 Eastern, a.m. Eastern on Saturdays. We got to get those college football picks in. So we'll see you here for Dudes Who Bet Daily. Until then, yes, Mr. Somich.
And last Saturday was important. If you showed up and watched that, you went 4-0 and made $1,000 in sports bets and horse racing bets on Saturday. Swept Saturday last week for $930, $940 profit.
Damn. What was I doing?
You were not betting that day, huh?
I was recovering. I just gotten home from my trip. That's why I was still recovering from that. Anyways, this guy tune in for that. We'll see you. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.